Welcome to Conversations with Celena, the podcast where we discover inspiration, motivation, and information to help you live your best life. I'm your host, Celena, aka Sunshine, and each week we'll dive into conversations with guests who share their testimonies, insights, and advice. We'll explore topics that uplift, encourage, and empower you to be the best version of yourself you can be. So tune in and let's have some fun while we explore all that life has to offer. Keep it smiling, sunshine, and let's go. Hey, sunshine. Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Celena. I'm your smiling host, Sunshine. And listen, we come to you live every weekend to share inspiration, motivation, and information to help you live your best blessed life. So without further ado, I want to jump right on into this episode, y'all. I'm tell you, if y'all don't know nothing else about Sunshine, y'all know I love to do conversations with Celena. I love for people to come and share their businesses, their testimonies, whatever it is that they have going on in life that can help you live your best blessed life. We're here to share it. So we have a returning guest on today. She's looking so beautiful. I can't wait for y'all to see her and hear her testimony and what she has coming up. Her name is Miss Kathleen, and she is not only a survivor, but a victor. She grew up in a life of conflict, which began as a child and continued through early adulthood. This life of conflict is what propelled her into becoming a mediator, developmental coach, author, trainer, and keynote speaker. She is on a mission to help individuals and businesses navigate through life, turning chaos into calm. And honey, if we did not need that before, we need it now, because it's definitely chaotic. And I don't know about you, but I need some calm in my life. So welcome to the stage, Miss Kathleen.
Hi, darling. How are you? Your smile is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Listen, I was messing up over here. I can't get to this part fast enough. There you go. Since we're not in front of a live audience, that's our audience right there.
I love hearing that.
Yes. So, welcome back. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love it. I love being here.
Okay.
You have such an infectious smile and laugh. It's amazing.
Oh, girl, listen. I didn't always be this way, but I've always smiled.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just living from a different place, like the chaos to calm.
Right.
I feel like I'm still growing into that, but I don't necessarily get all frustrated like I used to, because what's the point? Like we said that earlier. We just relax and know that God is in control, right?
Absolutely. We can have all the plans in the world, but he's going to look at you and remind you, I've got the final say.
Final say.
And that's how we have to roll.
Okay, so before we get started, you have to introduce our additional guest.
This is my wonderful Boston Terrier. He's being a very little needy dude today, but his name is Lord Atlas Cujo. Yes, he is a little lord because I bought him a plot of land in Scotland for a Christmas present. So it was that cute little thing that you could buy to save the woods over there, the forest, the trees. And so he's got his own little 12 by 12 foot plot, a 12 inch by 12 inch plot, not foot. Sorry. Ooh, that'd be a big one. So,
Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe he'll look up in a little bit, but I don't know. He's being very needy today.
Right now. A needy little shy guy.
Yes, he is. And we may hear him snore in a minute too, which is, I apologize ahead of time to everybody, but
that's okay. This is real life over here. Okay, so now we got to do our tea toast.
Absolutely. So cheers.
Kathleen and Sunshine. Cheers.
Cheers.
How you gonna say cheers and put the cup down, Miss Kathleen?
Because when I don't put the cup down, I actually tap the cup, and it's for luck. So when in our family, when we say salut or cheers, or slange, we will tap the cup after and then take a drink.
Oh, so cheers, tap.
Tap, drink. Yes. Normally it's done with like a little glass of wine or something, but tea is just as wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's an Italian thing?
It's a little bit of everything, honestly. Yes, it's an Italian thing, so we always tap. In my family, at least, we've always done that, and I grew up with it. So seeing everybody do it, it's something that I've continued.
Okay, listen,
Yeah,
you learn something new every day. I did not know that. So now, anytime I go, cheers, tap, drink.
exactly. So
Do I need to throw my pinky out? Let's see. All right. So for those that have never met you before,
mm-hmm.
a little backstory. I know that I've moved, but I did read Beautifully Broken. Ooh, Miss Kathleen, why are you talking? Hold on. You remember my computer shut down?
Yes.
I think I may have missed something. Let's see. We just gonna keep going. Yeah, my computer is shut down. Okay.
It's real life. We're good.
We are good. Hey Vanessa. Hey, look at good morning, sunshine. So for those, I was gonna say for those who've never met you before, give us a little backstory and bring us up to where we are right now.
Well, I shared in my book, and it is part of my bio, that I grew up in a life of conflict. And it went through young adulthood, even as I got a little bit older, right? You know, we're so used to things that we shouldn't be used to, that we allow mistakes to continue to happen.
That's right.
And there came a point in my life where I was like, I have to create who I was supposed to be. And when you're young, you really don't get that opportunity to choose who you want to be, right? You're so focused on what everybody else is saying you are. And then unfortunately we go in later in life and that's the same thing. Good morning, Jennifer. And we sit here and we become the product of what everyone else wants, needs, and desires. And we forget about our own wants, needs, and desires. Mm-hmm. And I decided that, you know what, that has to change. I have to become me. I know God made me to be someone, that he gave me a purpose. And if I continue to live in my past, my future would be just as bleak as my past was.
That's right.
I wrote Beautifully Broken to share with people. And it wasn't a sugar-coated book. It was very honest about everything that I had gone through. Girl, in my life.
The first chapter had me like, what, did I read that right? Hold on. Let me start over. Cause you're not used to people just bloop, just
right.
Just get into it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the raw truth.
And I believe, I truly believe that is something that we as people, we need to get better at, right? Because we can't say that, there's sunshine and roses and all the other things like that when it really isn't. So if I come at you and I'm telling you, this is what happened, I knew for a fact that I wasn't the only person living that kind of a life, having that kind of life brought out. So I had to share, and I just had to be as raw and honest as I could. I have had people come and tell me that they were able to read the first couple chapters and they cried so much they had to put it down. They would get back to it. And did I think it would make people cry?
I had to put it down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So fast forward into now, I know we were talking earlier, and I do have another book coming out. Actually, I have two books coming out. One of them is somewhat of a piggyback off of Beautifully Broken. And last September, I was in Europe with my son. We were in London and we went to the Shard, and the Shard is just, it's a hotel. There's restaurants. There's so much inside there. And it peaked so high over London. And we went to the restaurant there, and it's a 360-degree view of London. So all the way around. And we sat there watching the sunset over London. It was breathtaking. It was just amazing how it would just cover it. And then the lights from London would come up. The way it did was beautiful. It was just like, it was a transformation, right? Like we all go through in our lives. We all go through these transformations. Something dims, something brightens. And it was that moment when I'm watching the sun go down that the next book came to me, and it was everything. I mean, the chapters were there, everything. So I started talking into my phone so I wouldn't forget anything. Because the view that we had was amazing. And that's the kind of view I think we all deserve in our lives. So there's a little play on words in the title. And as soon as it's ready, I will let you know.
Okay.
So, and then we could do a little chat about that. I'm kind of holding the title back a little bit. And then my son and I, we're actually working together on a book right now, and it's historical fiction. It was something we actually started when he was in 10th grade in high school. He's now graduated college. So we're kind of just, a little bit, no, a little bit, no, a little bit, no. But now it's just in the fine tuning stages, and I can't wait for that to come out either. So it's meant to be a little thriller, a little scary. Does have some history in there and a lot of fiction, but I'm excited for it as well.
Okay. That just goes to show you that just because it hadn't happened doesn't mean it's not going to happen. You may have started something last week, last month, last year, 5 years ago, but just because it hadn't come to that final stage, like you said, just the final touches, fine tuning, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Like everything happens when it's supposed to happen.
Exactly. We make plans. He's got the final say.
Final say. And that's gonna be like what we keep coming back to. We think we're gonna be this way, and God says something different. So
exactly. And I'd rather live it on his time than assume that I'm gonna make everything on mine.
Girl, because we make stuff into a whole hot mess.
Yes, we do.
Some of our life is chaotic because of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the truth. We tend to make a lot of that chaos ourselves. Or we take what other people are doing, and instead of pushing it aside, we have to get our 2 cents in, which makes things worse. And learning how to control that for ourselves. I mean, as a mediator, I work with individuals in conflict all the time. I've actually started working with coaches, teaching them conflict communication skills to help with people that they're coaching. Because if we think about it, right, we all go for coaching. We all go to get help, help set us on a path, help us unclutter the thoughts that we've got going on in our mind. But no one really addresses the conflict that's holding us back. And the conflict may have nothing to do with what you're setting your sights on, but it's something else in there. So going in, beautifully broken, lots of conflict. I had to go and figure out a way to get through that. The next book is the same way. It talks about it because we are so, everywhere we turn, we have conflict. It's in the world, it's in our community, it's in homes. And being able to work through that to get rid of that chaos or lessen it is only going to make us healthy and be able to actually do those things that we want to succeed in with the help of God.
And so just to better clarify for people some of the conflict, that way, since you are raw and it is in the book and things like that, so that people can really relate that may be going through that currently. What were some examples of the conflict that you experienced whenever you were younger?
Well, it's in my book, and I don't shy away from talking about it with anyone. From the age 6 to 9, I was beaten, molested, and raped constantly. My childhood was taken away from me. Like, I didn't know what it was like to be a kid. I spent my life listening to the memories in my own mind of being told that I was so damn fat and ugly, I'd better be smart because no one's going to want me. I held on to that and believed anyone that said, I love you, because I didn't know what that meant. And you think about it, and you get to be a young adult to an adult, and it's like, I should have known what love was. But if you didn't have that,
You didn't
and
have.
you were so focused on what was said to you,
Mm-hmm.
you can't experience it. You can't accept it. You accept the lie because they're going to create in you, and you and I have talked about this before, that we become what everyone else wants, needs, and desires.
Mm-hmm.
And to make them happy, because I thought that's what love was, I allowed that to happen. So my life was not even in my own hands. My choices, my decisions. And it took me years to get over, not even over, because we never get over it, but to get through it and to come out on the other side, and to actually not be embarrassed, not think, oh my gosh, it was my fault. Who's going to be there for me? Nobody's going to believe me. To finally saying, you know what, it needs to be out there because I'm not alone. If it's happened to me, it's happened to other people. I was threatened by a former in-law that they were going to bash my skull in with a frying pan and bury me in the California desert. No one would ever find me. These are things that happen, and this is real life. It's not, it's painful, because you wonder how somebody could say that to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I said it before in the book, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
But I want the people that I talk to, the ones that I share with, the ones that I work with, to know that you can push through. We will never be over it. Okay? A survivor will never be over. It's still a part of our life. It's what we choose to do with it. And that was what I had to do. I had to make a choice. I had to say, okay, you know what? This is what I deserve. And I had to believe that for myself. And that is one of the difficult things that we do as individuals, is actually believe
So
that
did you
we.
meet somebody to help you say, you know what, I deserve this, I believe
Mhm.
this? Like, what was the turning point? Because if you're in a bad marriage and
Right?
then you got in-laws that are threatening to kill you, take you out, unalive you, as they say now.
Unalive you.
Yeah. And I mean, how do you get beyond that? If it happened at a childhood,
Mhm.
growing up, now your teenage years, now your young adult years, what happened? What changed?
Me, my mindset. I mean, you got to think about it. Aging myself here, right? I grew up in a time where none of that was talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not like it is now. So a lot of it was me having to coach myself in areas that I was completely unfamiliar with. So as I got older and things became easier to hear, like listening to podcasts or reading other books, um, going to centers that helped
Mm-hmm.
when these things happened, that helped me. But in the beginning, that change, I was alone, and I had to do that on my own. I had to decide that this is not the life I want. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be around those people. And that sometimes is the scariest step we could ever take, because it's all we know. And when you're told that you're never going to make it, no one's going to ever want you, and on, it makes it really difficult. But the hardest part for me was doing this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Now, later in life, I've met wonderful friends, wonderful, strong women, and even men that have allowed me to be open and raw and honest, and they have filled my cup. So I didn't have the opportunity or chance, or even being younger, the finances to go and seek that other kind of help. So I had to, as they say, put my heels down and take care of me. But then as it got later in life, I met people who have literally just filled me. I mean, I'm worthy, right? I knew I was. But I've got people in my life, in my circle, who remind me and tell me.
Yes, yes.
And that makes you stronger.
It does.
And that's what we need. And it doesn't have to be 100 people. You can have 5 people in your circle. And when we start breathing life into each other, like I said, nothing from the past will ever go away. It will always be there. But you can see your future now when you have the right people in your life. And I'm fortunate now, I have amazing people in my life.
Yeah, you're going to get a house big enough for all of us to come and camp out.
I am. We're going to have an amazing retreat in Italy. Absolutely.
I'm ready. Can we do it this year?
I'll be there in September.
Oh, girl. You know, and everything that you're saying, I can so relate to, because once you've been beat down so much, even when somebody does try to come along and tell you something positive about yourself, you're like, you can't see that. You don't feel that. And until you get to that place, and it all comes with maturity, it comes with growing in Christ, it comes with, I don't know, getting away from, because you can't, you may have been through it and it's going to be there, but you're no longer that child anymore. Like you are away from that thing that kept you bound, that thing that like haunted you. And people are like, well, if it really happened, what took you so long to talk about it? When I hear somebody say that, man, it's just like, it does something to me, because you have no idea.
That's right.
What the person is going through, went through, and is going through right now, because it will affect your present life. It will affect your future if you don't get the help that you need, if you don't start to change those thought processes of nobody's ever going to want you to, yes, it is. I love me.
It is so true.
God loves me. Like whatever they said was to keep you quiet, was to keep you in a place where you were afraid and fearful. And now I love saying God ain't giving me the spirit of fear.
Nope.
Because I was just recently fearful. I felt fearful. All this stuff that's going on around, I started to feel fear. And I had to keep reminding myself, God is not giving you the spirit of fear.
And that is true.
Let that go.
Yep. And it's, when you said, we were talking earlier about people keeping you in fear. I mean, as a child, and I wrote it in the book. You're going to remember it when I say it. I was threatened that if I were to ever tell anyone, they would cut my tongue out and cut my mother's heart out. So as a child, you don't say anything, because I could never let anything happen to my mother. So they do put fear in us, and we end up living that way for so long because it's easier. And that's the worst way to feel about it. But don't expect much. Don't do much. Know that you're not worthy. Live that way. And that's not true. When you start walking in your truth, when you start walking in who God made you to be. And I will tell you, and it's in the book too, for many years, I was angry with God. I'm like, how could you let someone do this to me? What did I do? And as a 6-year-old, what would a 6-year-old actually do? You have to look back and think, what on earth would have happened there? But it's finally deciding to break those chains that are holding you down and holding you back, and writing it down in ink, who you are and what you are, is so powerful. And then you start running with it, and you start living it, and you start praying, and you start, instead of asking God, you're saying, I know you're going to do this. You have that power. You can make this right. I know you are, because I know you are here for me.
Now, did you ever go back and confront the person or say anything or anything, ask them why? Did you ever have that opportunity?
He died. he got cancer and died. So I didn't have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even as, late 20s, early 30s, I was still fearful.
Yeah.
And that's hard to say. You look at your life and it's like, oh my gosh, that's almost half of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I lived so many years in fear.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he passed.
But you were able to forgive him and the in-laws and all of the people that call themselves hurting you and mistreating you, and they were really only building you. When you look back over some of the things that people did, you almost have to laugh, because it's like you tried to break me to
Mm-hmm.
where I no longer wanted to live, or I took my own self out. But look at me now. Like, look at me now. What you thought you were gonna do to stop me and break me, it did not, because I'm victorious.
And that's the truth. And it took me years. It took me years to truly forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would say I forgive. Why? Because we're told we're supposed to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, okay, I forgive. I forgive. But I really don't think I did in the beginning. I still held that anger inside me. And it took me many, many years to truly forgive, because that was the only way I could release myself.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And we have to realize that we can either let our past dictate who we're going to be in the future, or we can forgive and release that past. Not that it's ever going to go away, but release it out from us right now to become who we're really supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. With this altered future, because you think back sometimes and you're like, I wonder what my life would have been like had I had supportive, you know
Mm-hmm.
um, life speaking people, and only life speaking, because I'm not going to say I didn't have people speaking life over me, but for whatever reason, that negative stuff, that you're this, that you're that, it just sticks. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
could be over here saying you're beautiful, but you done heard this so much, and it does something to you. It's so hurtful. Oh, okay. I thought my thing. It's so hurtful that it's almost like you can't hear the other side that's telling you that you're beautiful. You can't believe it, because this right here, these seeds right here, took that grip that and
Yes.
just grew and grew and grew. And it does take years. And I was like right at 50 before I was able to even start talking about being abused, being
Mm-hmm.
raped, and most people could tell you. Let's see who's in here. I think it was Tricia. It was Tricia. I don't think Miss Abigail was on the phone. I think it was Tricia and Angela. They were on the phone with me praying. I was on the floor crying, trying to
Mm-hmm.
write one chapter, but because I guess I really haven't dealt with it, and that was a person that I didn't forgive,
Right.
because it was so hurtful. Like, it just takes a while. So I can agree with that. Whenever you start saying, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive, it's words at first,
It
because
is.
you're like, I want to be free from this. And so I know that I have to forgive them. And it sounds so fake and phony when you first say it out your mouth. You're like, God, why? Just saying those words don't even sound right. But when you start to pray for them, I
Mm-hmm.
forgive them and I pray for them, whatever it is that they're going through, because nobody in their real mind should ever even have those thoughts to do any of those things to children, or threatening a grown adult, saying, I'm gonna, girl, what kind of mess is that? That's
And
crazy. But
it
you
is.
you
It
for
is. It's absolutely crazy. But it's for some reason, conflict is easier than compassion.
conflict is easier than compassion.
It's easier for people to do what's wrong than to do what's right. And we see that every day. And that's the hardest thing. I look at, I'm like, how can we do this? How can we do this way? And it's like you said, this here is what's been said to me is what I believe. And then I have all this life building here and it just can't get through.
Can't get through.
Right. And if you
Because
think
of the
about it, it's,
because of the trauma. And that's what I'm learning. Like all that stuff
yep,
that we experienced young, that was trauma. And
it
now
was.
trauma brain, and the good cannot seem to penetrate that trauma brain because there's a disconnect. There's just a disconnect, and you have this disassociation going on anyway. Like you're doing what you can to survive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're also sitting there and think about it, right? You're working with a group of people and they're all telling you, you know what, we have grown so much because of you. We've done this. And thank you so much for all your help. And you have one person that says, this really didn't do anything. What do you focus on more?
That person that said it didn't do anything.
Exactly. Because we are so, we are brought up to see that first before anything else. And if you look at the world, it's the same way.
It is. It is. Because I think about like, we're here, we're encouraging, but if this was about the conflict that's going on, the chaos that's going on, like you wouldn't even I wouldn't even have to share it. People would automatically just be sharing it out because
right.
Conflict is drama, it's mess, and that is what people are drawn to. But I'm gonna stay over here consistent. I'm not gonna say I'll never touch on anything that is negative because we can learn from any situation. But this platform is mainly for inspiration, motivation, and information. So that part gonna fall into my information portion. But the lives and stuff that I do, I'm not gonna stop doing them because this is needed. You know,
it is.
That's my cell phone. Hey, I'm on a live video. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you when I finish. Okay. All right. Bye bye.
Love it. But you're right. I mean, conversations with Celena, because you bring out the life. It's, yes, you touch on what has happened, but what has happened actually rolls into what is happening. And it's bringing that sunshine that we need. It's letting people know that, you know what? Yeah, everything can be just a hot wreck mess, but it can turn into this. And that's what's needed.
That's what's needed.
That's what's needed. And again, it's people gravitate toward the drama, the tragedy, the anger, because it's easy to get to and it's easy to get sucked up into it. I cannot turn the television on. I only want happy things. I mean, I realize there's a world out there and things are crazy. But if I let that fester in my own mind, imagine what it's going to drudge up from my past that I'm working to get out of.
That you have no control.
Right.
You have no control over anything because that's how you feel when you've been in those situations and you've been abused. Not only do you feel bad about yourself, you got low self-esteem, you don't ever believe in that hope and a future that the Bible talks about because that belongs to everyone else, not you, because you're good for nothing. You feel as though you're only worth pleasing somebody else and them getting the satisfaction from you and your body and things like that until you come to the realization they're the ones with the problem, not me.
Exactly.
This is their burden to bear. And whether they want to believe it or not, that's not my problem. Whatever they got going on, that's not my business. But what is my business is that I live free. I let this go and I take all this guilt and shame and I say, God, you know what? You can have this because this is not my life. And it takes a while. It is a process. If you think it happens overnight and if it has happened overnight for you, praise God, we happy for you. But for most of us, it is not an overnight process. You go through some things. And I don't remember if you've ever felt suicidal, but I know for me, definitely. I had a young man on like 3 weeks ago, I think it was. He said he tried 3 times. At 16 years old, he was raped. He asked to go by his cousins and go play. was raped over there at 16 years old. And I think 16, 19 and 20, I don't know, somewhere up in those ages, you get so low, you don't even want to be here anymore because you don't feel like anyone cares, that you're not worthy, all of those negative thoughts. And so it is so important to get connected to the source and also connected to people who are connected to the source, because once you do that, you're going to be on fire. You're not even going to have any desire to turn the TV on. You're going to want to turn the TV off, and go be in the midst of powerful people that are speaking life, that are leaving their past and walking into their future. Because this lady told me the other day, she said, if you got a pulse, you got a purpose. So as long as you woke up with breath in your body today, there is purpose in your life. And stop people pleasing and learn how to take care of your own business. March is about minding your business.
Exactly. Absolutely. And then you here with Conversation with Celena, you just keep bringing out sunshine and the realness from other people.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I love it. And it's people like you that don't mind being vulnerable, don't mind being transparent, to come and share their testimony of where they've been, because, and it's hard. It's hard, especially when it's friends, family, incest. When it's those things, those are very hard things to talk about, because you're not trying to go back and cause a conflict. You're trying to start from where you are and soar. So that's a whole nother challenge in itself, trying to share your story, trying to give your testimony without identifying specific people.
Right.
Because you get to do it, you don't even have to be too specific, and people, they're not crazy. They can figure it out. Like you, so it's, that part brings a whole nother level of complication to an already complicated problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah. So I don't know. I miss I don't know if you know her or not, Miss and why did I get ready to say it? Miss Ramona. So Miss Ramona, she's in California, and she was in my live the other day. She said, Sunshine, I'm waiting on your book. But for some reason, it's very hard for me to write. I've been saying this for like 3-4 years now, probably since I've been doing Conversation with Celena, how hard it is to write. But when you do write things down, it gets it out of here. It gets it out of here and onto paper, so that you can see clear. You know, you can't see clear when you're keeping it all up here. All the bad stuff, all the hurtful stuff, all the failed things. Like, write it down. Write it down, get it off of you. So that's what I've been trying to do. I'm trying to be more consistent with it. I know I need to probably try out of my vocabulary, because that leaves that room for it not to happen. Well, I'm trying. No, do it. There's power in doing it now. So I woke up this morning and everything I needed to do, I was doing it now. Do it now. Do it now. Because procrastination, this is probably a whole nother lie, but maybe it's meant to be said. Procrastination and putting things off is probably the worst thing that you can do when it comes to being successful, when it comes to your dreams, when it comes to walking in your purpose. You got to let that fear go. And regardless of what anybody thinks, you have to do it. Like, I think I'm still worried about, is anybody going to want to come see Sunshine? Is anybody want? If it's that one person, stop saying if it's only one person. And then when you get one person, you feeling like it failed. No, you never know that one person that you're speaking into, how they're going to take that seed that you planted, and it's just going to, you, before you know it, you're going like, my God. Because we want to stand around and wait for it to grow. That's not our job. God gives us the job of planting the seed, and he will give that increase. We just need to go on about our business and keep planting those seeds and keep sharing that sunshine and that encouragement and all of those things. So I'm going to be quiet. Let you talk.
No,
now I'm excited.
See, and you should be. And you're right. I mean, procrastination and putting things off is the killer of everything. And one of the things that I love doing is, if I feel like I am in a procrastination mode, I tell myself it's pursuit time. It's pursuit time. So I try to take that procrastination out, and I put pursuit in its place. because I want to go after and complete the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Whether it's on my time, which really never is, it's his time always. But, and you're right, planting that one seed, because then that one seed can help build an entire garden.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then if you think about that one seed, the flower blooms, the pollinator comes, takes that, spreads it around. And now from that one seed, you have gardens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it takes. So instead of, when you feel like that procrastination comes in, tell yourself pursuit, get that out of your mind, because then you're going to want to get up and you're going to want to do something. And I understand what it's like in writing the book. I always start, so I write in journals a lot. And when I'm looking at a new book, obviously this last one was just all in my head at once. I start at the back page and I just write down anything and everything that's going on in my head. Brain dump. It could be a word, it could be a sentence. None of it's going to make sense to anyone else that reads it. But then you can look at it and you can start putting it all in order. And then all of a sudden you start seeing a paragraph. And then you start seeing a chapter. And then another chapter. And then before you know it, you've got 5, 6, 7, 10 chapters of a book. And then you can take and start filling it all in with everything else you've put down.
And I want to add to that, and thank you, because you did tell me to start from the back. But for people who are like, well, they're not talking to me because I'm not interested in writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
Apply this principle to whatever it is. It could be getting a food truck.
Mm-hmm.
It could be starting a restaurant.
Yes.
It could be starting a coaching business. It could be going back to school. Like, apply this to however it relates to your life. That's what I want to say.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we're like, oh, well, they're not talking to me because I don't want to write a book. Yeah, we're talking to you.
We're talking to everybody.
We're talking to, yes, everybody. You, the one that's over there struggling, we're talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go back and look at it, because I'm gonna be looking at myself like, Sunshine, I'm talking to you too.
There you go.
And so, I wanted to, and I try to be transparent, right? So, some people know, not everybody, but I do work for the federal government. And so when I was wondering, am I going to get cut? I started saying, well, this is how I fund Conversations with Celena. So maybe I'm going to have to stop. Do you know that I've had, since I said that, 3 people tell me, I'm going to send you a donation. I'm telling you, when I say God be winking at you, like, girl, I got you. I feel like, right? And I don't know where I got that from, but somebody said about them God winks, like God, he doesn't wink. And I'm thinking, okay, God, you see me. And that's a whole nother month. Like, I can go a whole nother month. And that's how I'm going to look at it. Instead of saying way out in the future, day by day, month by month. That's how we're going to do it. And so, because you never know, like right here, you're here today. You're going to be in Italy in September. I might be in Italy in September too, because you might be saying, go look at this podcast that I was on. Go look at this show that I was on.
Exactly.
And here I'm all in Italy. I'm be like, okay, because you never know that seed you're planting, who's going to pick it up and take it with them and be like, you got to go see this person. I need you to go follow this person. I need you to go support this person. And again, this applies to you, and whatever you got, think back, which is the benefit of journaling, because you can go back and see the things that God has already brought you through.
Right.
So why wouldn't he bring you through this? So my friend sent me something and she's like, I need you to go watch this because God has never left you. And I said, things may have gotten hard, but I've made it through, just like you have, Miss Kathleen. So whatever you're going through right now today, know that God's sending you that little wink. Girl,
yes, he is.
And it'd be from different people and unexpected people at that. You're like, you're going to do what? 3 people said, I'm going to, what's your email? And the funny thing is, 2 of them, I know for sure, they don't do Cashapp. They don't do Venmo. So I'm getting a check in the mail. And so I'm like, hey, that works because this little girl, I gotta call Maya because she used to say that her daughter Legend would say checks in the mail, checks in the mail. So I gotta call her and tell her checks in the mail for Sunshine, checks in the mail. You
Love it.
So again, God will bring stuff back to your remembrance. Remember, I promised you this. Remember, I promised you that. And it's on the way because a delay is not a denial.
Exactly.
Girl, I feel like I'm preaching. I'm going to let you talk.
But you're right. A delay is not a denial. It's, again, we've talked about this before. It's in his timing. He may say no right now, but that's because he's building you up for a bigger yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we need to look at it. Instead of this immediate satisfaction and gratification, when it doesn't happen, then all of a sudden we go back into the self-pity again.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it with everything that I do, that I like to do when I write a book. It's however long it takes me, it takes me. Like I said, the book with my son that we're working on, we started when he was in 10th grade. He just graduated college.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a no. It's just not right now.
That's it.
There's something else that's happening. And that's things that we need to remember in our own lives. Because again, we could fall back into, I'm not worthy. This is not happening for me. I'm just going to give up. Or we look around and we see, okay, how has things changed? What has come into my life?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you start realizing that there's a bigger picture out there. And that denial, it's not a no. It's just a not right now.
Not right now. But
it's go ahead.
I said not right now, but it's coming.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's what we have to remember when we're doing anything, because we can focus on all the bad, all the steps backwards, all the chaos that's happened in our lives, and forget that there is a bigger picture out there. And we are only seeing this little bitty piece.
Mm-hmm.
We need to learn to open our eyes and see what is actually there. So when we're talking, when we're working, when we're writing, whenever we're driving, whatever it is that we're doing, think about the things that you've actually seen, that you've actually felt. Because that step backwards took you off a path that was probably going to cause harm to you. And he's going to set you up on a new path, the path you're supposed to be on. So like you said, the denial is not a no. It's just not right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the delay is not a denial. It's
That's
just
right.
So I hear you coaching me. Tell me about the business. So we know you have the books, and you have 2 coming out.
Yes.
Please let me know as soon as it drops, okay?
I will.
But tell us about the motivational speaking and the life coaching. Is it life coaching?
So I prefer to refer to as developmental coaching, because we are going to work through the things that are holding you back, the conflict. And I have life coaches in my life, and my focus is on helping individuals get through the conflict that's holding them back.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to certain parts to where, you know what, that's not my strong area, but I know who is.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to say that, because we as humans, we can control everything. We can do it all, but we can't. Right. So I've had a few people in my life that they wanted to start their own businesses, but things in their life were holding them back. So talking them through the conflicts, giving them conflict communication skills, and creating avenues out of that conflict for them to go to the next step for their business. Mm-hmm. And then when we got to that next step, I'm like, this is who I'm referring you to, because I can't fix everything, and we're not supposed to fix other people. They have to want to fix themselves. They have to want to grow. So I coach through whatever conflict is going on. And that's what my company does. I'm also a mediator. So I will go into...
What's What's the name of the company?
KMF Consulting. It's actually going through a rebranding right now, and the name is changing. So I can't tell you what it is just yet.
Girl, you got a whole lot going on.
I know, and I'm so excited for it because it's like, there's so much change and so much growth that's going on. And I am so ecstatic. I don't even know how to explain it, but yes. So, I mean, as a mediator, I work with businesses and individuals who are in conflict, right? I help them cross that bridge of communication. Let's bring communication back. Okay. We have our own conflicts, but we have to learn how to communicate with ourselves through that conflict. I also train. So I will go into businesses and different companies and organizations, and I will teach them conflict communication skills, because when you are in the public eye, when you are working with people, there's going to be a conflict. You can't get away from it. It's how you speak. It's how you listen. It's how you react. And unfortunately, education purposes, people aren't taught, or they're not taught conflict communication skills. And that's where I come in. But yes, I have so much going on. I will tell you that the rebranding has a lot to do with the daffodil. And if you know anything about daffodils, daffodils are a sign of rebirth and growth. So that's, I guess, a little teaser I'll give you.
Okay. So I don't even know, girl, if I needed to sign up for the coaching. It sounds like you got so much. I'm gonna be to the next level with somebody else in no time, girl. I ain't got time for you, but I'm gonna send you over here to this girl right here, because you writing books, you helping companies and businesses and people. Do you even have room on your calendar for anybody else?
Oh, I do. I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Because that's the thing. I will help the person or the business get through that conflict, get through that thing that's holding them back, so then they can focus on those next steps to get them.
While you're waiting on the rebrand, how can someone find you that needed help today? Like, that speaks to me. I need help. Or if they just have questions, what's the best way to reach you now?
So the best way to reach me would be to email me. And you can put my email up there. You can also, if you're on LinkedIn, you send me a message and I will respond back to you. And then I will send over my calendar, and you just choose a date that's good for you. So there are a lot of changes coming, and it's all good. I'm still working while the changes are happening. But I'm excited to see the rebirth that's coming.
Girl, I'm excited too. Shoot, see, these teasers, they work, because I'm like, girl, what? We knows it. We're like, wait a minute, what we doing now?
Oh yeah.
No.
So, but no, anyway, email or LinkedIn, absolutely. Just reach out to me that way. And I would be more than happy to talk with you to see where it is you want to be, where it is you want to see yourself, and then work you through what's going on to get you to that next level.
And sometimes that's the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
You're confused.
Exactly.
So you don't actually know where you want to be, because you're being held captive, by the past.
Exactly.
Like you're a prisoner of something that you did not have any control over.
Right.
And when you thought you could have control over your life, you realize you're in these adult relationships that are also controlling, that's also degrading and belittling. And I'm telling you, it's something about aging. They joke and they talk about aging, but there is maturity and there is growth and there is freedom when you get older and you realize that was nothing but the lie from the enemy, trying to keep me down, trying to keep me from walking in my purpose, trying to destroy me, kill,
you are correct,
and destroy. And I'm like, but when you start to struggle, even when you're walking in your freedom, because it's some little thoughts that says, you see, that didn't work out. You see this, so it's not really meant for you. It's meant for everybody else, but it's not meant for you. And so nobody knows that type of struggle unless you've been through it. We all go through things, but when you've been from a child molded into that molestation and rape and abuse, it's a totally different life being an adult with that lingering behind you.
Mhm.
So I think even when people have that conflict, sometimes that conflict is within. That's the main
Exactly.
conflict, is that one which is within
Mhm.
you, telling you you're not worthy.
Exactly.
You can't do that. So use a lie. You got to clap back. You got to
Yes.
clap back when those thoughts come and be like, I'm most definitely worthy of the great things that God has for me.
Absolutely. And we can continue to be prisoners of those thoughts that we allow to keep seeping in. And they will. They're going to sneak in every once in a while. Or we can remind ourselves that that's not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song out there, Fear He Is a Liar. They say things, they rob your innocence, they rob this, but you have to remember that it's all a lie because that's not you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I mean, there's so much strength within us that we don't know what to do with it because we do let what's been in our past and in our mind remind us that we can't do it, we're not worthy. But then all of a sudden you start doing it just a little by little, you realize that this whole time you were holding yourself back. And you got to decide, we're not holding myself back anymore.
And with that comes anger,
Exactly.
because you're like, I might be holding myself back, but it's because of this. And so
Exactly.
it's like a struggle that you have to work on you, not based on just life, but based on
Mhm.
the life that somebody else decided that you were going to have. Because,
Exactly.
like you said, at your age, you hadn't done anything to deserve that.
Mm-mm.
I hadn't done anything to deserve that other than try to be a kid, which was robbed from us. And
Right.
so now some days you just want to sit around and do kid like stuff. I'm like, I want to go get me a coloring book and just color.
Yeah.
Why? Because you wasn't able to truly live that life of a child.
And that's so true. And then we let that take hold in our adulthood.
Yeah.
And that's when we have to just stand up. It's kind of like standing up to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and learning to get out of our own way.
Yeah. Standing up to yourself and also embracing that little girl, because I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm grown with kids, but sometimes I just feel like a little girl.
Yeah.
Just feel like the little girl that wants to be rescued. But then you be like, girl, ain't nobody coming to rescue you.
Mm-mm.
You need to rescue you. So that's when you got to put them big girl panties on and look in your eyes and tell that little girl, we're going to be all right. I got you. Mhm.
You do.
So I appreciate you so much for coming back and sharing all of the, kind of giving us teasers about all the great things that's coming, because we still left over here in suspense. But yeah, as soon as they come to the Amazon or wherever you're gonna be selling it, and the email comes out and the website is released and all the things that you got going on, I can't even name them all, girl. You're like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. It's like, do you even have time for new customers? You said I most certainly do. Girl,
I absolutely do. It has a lot to do with time management and everything that I'm doing, aside from the book with my son, which is historical fiction. Everything I'm doing revolves around helping others, serving others, giving them life. So it is easy for me and it's what I love doing. And if I can be that one word of life, of future for someone else, then I'm going to help them. I'm going to do what I can do.
and and that's why we connected, because that's where I feel like I am now. And some things that I do now, I just be like, you did not used to be this person. You did not used to think about some of the things that you're thinking about now. And it's because I love this. Like, I love being connected with people who I can really relate to, and I can celebrate and just look at you and be like, girl, you don't look like any of that stuff that I read that you've been through. You don't behave that way now. And I think that that's another thing about survivors and conquerors. We have that empathy and we have that compassion because we know what it's like to be in that position, in that mindset, feeling broken, not even feeling beautifully broken at some point. You know, it's an ugly hot mess. But to become that beautifully broken person, that it didn't fall apart, but it all fell into place.
Exactly.
You want to share with as many people as you can before you close your eyes and there's no longer breath in your body. That's how I feel. And I'm like, I'm trying to do so much sometimes. Then I'm like, did I get anything accomplished? Because I want to do this and I want to do that. And at the end of the day, yes, you have accomplished something because if you talk to somebody on the phone, God is my witness. I talked to somebody on the phone. Now it's been a couple months ago, like 6 hours.
Right.
6. And needless to say, some of the stuff on my list did not get done. But that is what I was supposed to do at that moment in time. I had one plan, God had a different plan. And I was so okay with that. And I have to learn how not to beat myself up if I didn't put out a video that day, because what I did do was way more important than just doing a video. That person needed me and I was there.
Yeah. You helped them breathe that day.
I helped them breathe that day. Girl, that's good.
Yes.
I helped somebody breathe that day. Because in the grand scheme of things, that's what we have to get through today. Do you know how many people wanted to commit suicide and didn't? They made it through that day.
That's right. That is right. It's just one breath.
One breath.
And one word. And that can be the breath that they need.
So listen, we know how to get in touch with you now.
Absolutely.
But I've been trying to ask 2 to 3 questions at the end. So I'm going to ask you the questions and give you a minute to think about it and then play the commercial so I don't get in trouble with Tamaya. Just going to throw her name right on out there. So if you could tell your younger self something, what would you tell your younger self? That little girl, what would you tell her? And then if someone wanted to become an author, a developmental coach, a life coach, what word of advice would you give them? And then the very last thing is, and I'll ask you again, but we stayed on here an hour. So if you wanted to say, let me tell y'all something, if you don't get anything else out of this hour, this is the one golden nugget that I want you to take. This is your one sunshine golden nugget that I want you to take from this episode. So what would that be? And we'll be right back. Hang tight, my sunshine. Conversations with Celena. We'll be right back. Hey, sunshine. Yes, girl. All right. So, if you could tell your younger self something, what would that be?
Breathe.
Breathe. It's going to be all right, huh?
It is. And I sat there thinking about all the questions you just asked, all 3 of them. And in each area, I would say breathe. When we stop breathing, everything stops. When we stop breathing, our functions stop. Our brain stops. Our heart stops. And to tell my younger self, and it took me a long time to think about what I would say, because I felt like I had to say something really poignant, right? Had to be some masterpiece paragraph to give to my younger self. And if I was able to go back and tell her, breathe, things are going to be different. It's that word that we don't do enough of. We don't stop long enough in the day to actually just breathe. And breath is life. Mm-hmm. If I was to tell people about writing a book, getting out there, like I spoke with you earlier, breathe. When you breathe, you can center your thoughts. When you breathe, your shoulders drop from your ears, right? Because we're constantly like this. When you breathe, you exhale what's negative and you inhale what's positive. And then you're able to take that and start writing. And I always tell individuals who are starting to write, whether it's a book or a journal or a workbook, a guide, anything, start on the very back page. Don't start your book on the back page, but take your journal, start on the back page and just brain dump everything. It makes sense to you, but to no one else, because then you're able to breathe through and think about the things you've written down. And then remind me again the last question.
The sunshine golden nugget. Like, if you don't get anything else from this episode, what would it be?
Breathe.
You know, and it may sound so simple, but you're telling the truth, especially the intentional breathing. Mm-hmm. Right. Like, just to stop and just think about inhaling the positive and exhaling the negative. Exactly. And when you do that, you're actually calming your nervous system down. Mm-hmm. Because when you are being abused or when you are trying to do something scary, like write a new book, you know, everything just tenses all up. Mm-hmm. If you can just breathe, like exactly. Your shoulders drop, you center your thoughts, you center yourself by breathing. Girl, I think that's probably the best answer that I heard. Just breathe.
Exactly.
And with all three, like nobody's ever done that before. Like the answer is the same for all three. 1, 2, and 3. Breathe.
But that's the truth, and that's as we forget to do that. Yes. We get so caught up in the breathing just to live, mm-hmm. that we forget to breathe life into our lives. And all three of those questions, it's breathe.
Got it. Breathe. You see me over here. I'm taking my.
Exactly.
And you feel the relaxation coming mm-hmm. over your body when you do that, taking that deep, intentional breath. And you are supposed to hold them too. So you breathe in, you hold, and you let it out. And it tells your body that everything is okay. Like, you might be lifting up over certain things, but when you breathe, because you have control over your breath.
You do.
So that is a calming, coping technique that you mm-hmm. can use every day, no matter what situation you're in and no matter where you are. You can control your breathing.
You can. And I breathe for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 4, 4, 4.
Mm-hmm. So yes, breathe. Everyone out there, breathe.
Breathe. Regardless. Jennifer said to don't give up and stay true to yourself. That's right, Jennifer.
Absolutely.
You breathe the breath of life that mm-hmm. God gave you, and you enjoy the breath. Like, that's a way to say, I enjoy having the ability to just breathe, no matter where I am, no matter what situation I'm in. Like when you go, like going live. I remember going live. I used to be afraid. I would have to just be like, okay, girl, breathe. Mm-hmm. Now I just be breathing because I'm going live either way, and I don't bother me anymore. Like, I'm not nervous if I make a mistake. Like, my whole computer went down before we got started, and so it's like, it's okay. Just breathe.
It is. And you learn to get out of your own way.
And you learn to get and be successful. And getting it done. This is another thing. We need to learn how to celebrate getting it done as a success.
Yes.
That first step of getting started. Because, like, if you want to do something, like you want to write a book, like we just staying stuck on books, you want to write a book, getting the pen and the paper out. Even if you don't write nothing down, celebrate that first step that you did. Like, you know what? I got the pen and the paper ready to go.
Exactly.
Then the next step, flip to the back and brainstorm. Don't worry about spelling and punctuation. Just jot it down as fast as you can so that you don't lose it. You just like write.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's way.
yeah, and so just celebrate along the way. That's my golden nugget that I want to give somebody today. Every step along the way, you do a celebration as you breathe, because we have been so conditioned to beat ourselves up and replay other things that people have beat us up, words and actions, that we don't celebrate ourselves because we don't feel worthy. But we're here to tell you today that you are worthy. You have the best gift, and that's the breath of life. So breathe, and as you breathe, celebrate those breaths. Thank you, God, that I have breath in my body, that I can take these deep, intentional breaths to inhale your word, your positivity, and exhale those lies and that negative stuff. Girl, that's good. That's good. I need to go journal this right now. Jennifer,
Absolutely.
enjoyed, and I'm glad I was able to listen on the live this morning. Needed to hear the words of encouragement.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, girl. Well, listen, I'm going to let you get back to all the things that you got going on. Thank you again for joining Conversation with Celena. When you release that book, you're going to have to come back and tell us about it.
I will absolutely tell you about it, and I will send you a first copy.
Oh, signed.
Yeah, absolutely. Signed,
Yes.
sealed, and delivered.
Signed, sealed, and delivered. You know, I think I'm special. I be wanting a whole note. Write me something so I can read back over it, and give me an extra special word of encouragement.
I
Yes.
will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So well behaved. He didn't even.
He still hasn't. Oh, wait. Atlas.
Yes. Hey.
Atlas. There he is.
Ears. Oh, well, thank you again. Have an amazing day. And we thank you for being transparent and vulnerable, because some of the things that you said, a lot of people are not there yet, but we're here to encourage you not to be ashamed, not to be embarrassed. Walk in your purpose, taking those past things that happened to you, turning it around and using it for good. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. Now y'all go share a smile and
Absolutely.
spread some sunshine. Until next time, which will be 12:30, y'all come back here for Shirley Novak. She is going to talk to us about domestic violence, human trafficking. So that's a new one for me. So I'm so excited because it's a for real thing happening that needs to be addressed. Okay. And
yes, it is.
Y'all come back 12:30 for Shirley Novak. But until then, KISS, keep it smiling, sunshine. Mwah.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.